Hello friends, it's Greg here again on the Blue Feather Ephemera channel. I have an eBay store by the same name where I sell vintage magazine print advertising, and every week I put together a video to show you what's sold in my store. I also cover a bonus topic each week. This week it's titled Christmas Came Early, and I'll be telling you how I'm preparing my store for the upcoming holiday sales season. So stay tuned for that. But first, let's take a look at those ads. We'll start out with this patriotic looking ad from 1967. The advertiser is Acme Industries. They're based in Jackson, Michigan. And it says in the text of the ad here that 323 of Fortune's top 500 U.S. corporations use their comfort and process cooling equipment. So when it comes to ads like this, where you're talking about factory equipment, all I know to tell you is all that I find printed in the ad. So basically, they're just talking about how their equipment is used widespread in manufacturing and industrial plants. That's all I know. I can tell you $14.77 is what this ad sold for, and it's on its way to Oregon. Here's a fun ad from 1952. This for Conoco Oil Company, and it ran in Saturday Evening Post. It's talking about one of their products. It's a resin that's used to treat cotton fabrics, and down here in the corner, it shows you some of the detail about how this resin interacts with the cotton fiber to make it stronger and more resilient to any kind of damage from getting wet or getting crushed or whatever. It springs back to its original state. And they're demonstrating here with this fellow in the lab coat. He's doing a real scientific experiment, hosing this lady down, and it says she don't care. But what I like is down here at the bottom, he ends up getting the girl, putting her in the car and taking her home with him, I guess. But real fun ad, $16.77 sent this ad to Michigan. Here's an ad for the Sheboygan Chair Company of Wisconsin. 75 years of making chairs. They've served the U.S. military through 4 wars, and down in the detail here, it shows the 4 different campaign ribbons or conflict ribbons for those 4 wars that they've served the country through. And down here at the bottom, it says our 75th anniversary as chair craftsman. This ad ran in the Quartermaster Review 1943. $12.77 sent this ad to Illinois. Next up, I've got a half-page black and white ad from Woman's Home Companion. This ran in 1933. The advertiser is the Cocoa Malt Chocolate Vitamin Drink Mix. The company is R.B. Davis. I think it's Davis. Yeah, R.B. Davis Company of Hoboken, New Jersey. And up here in the details of the advertisement, it goes into some pretty in-depth coverage of vitamin D and other vitamins and minerals that are needed to raise healthy kids. And, I've talked about this in other ads for like cream of wheat and shredded wheat and other food products, Karo syrup and stuff like that, where they really give moms a hard time back in the 1930s about child nutrition. And if a child's not healthy, it's mom's fault. Up here at the top, it says, Mother, why gamble with your child's health? And so on. This young man, barely decent, but barely decent is decent. And so I went ahead and listed it. I may do one of my bonus topics coming up. I may talk about ads that you can't sell, and but this one I did put up for sale, and there's no problem with this. I've got other ads that I can't sell for various reasons, and maybe I should do a bonus topic about what you can't sell. Y'all let me know in comments if you'd want me to cover that. But anyway, this ran for $14.77, and I sold it to a buyer in Virginia. Here's an ad for black and white Scotch whiskey, and it's got the West Highland Terrier there and the Scottish Terrier there. And those little black and white dogs are the mascots of the Black and White Scotch Whiskey Company for decades. And here these little guys are excited because they're getting ready to go on a trip. And you see there that whoever it is that's traveling has their whole case of the black and white blended Scotch whiskey with them in the car, the station wagon, it looks like. But it says it is the Scotch with character. This ad sold for $12.77. It ran in New Yorker magazine 1958, and it's going to Arizona. Here's a nice ad from the Quartermaster Review 1943, and the advertiser is Conmar, and it says that they make Conmar major zippers. It says tested and approved for war production requirements. And if you read into the detail of the advertisement here, uh, first of all, I like the little mascot they've got. He's packing a gun, looks like a little six shooter, but he is a zipper. His uniform zips from neck to toes there, and he's rendering the salute. But in the details, it says that they provide a wide margin of endurance beyond Army and Navy specifications. Consult us regarding zipper applications for all military requirements. So a nice ad there. $14.77 sent this to Washington. Here's an ad from 1967 that ran in Fortune magazine. It's a full page black and white ad. Basically, they're just bragging about their numbers because, in Fortune magazine, you want the other companies knowing that if you're advertising there and showing these kinds of numbers, you'll be a strong company to do business with, a good company to invest in, so on and so forth. But you can see all these charts look good here. While I'm showing these charts, I'm not going to go into the explanation about what they mean or compare them to anything else, but I remember first hearing about Beatrice Foods in the 1980s when I was working at a grocery store, and the manager there took some time off to go to a food show that was hosted by Beatrice Foods. That's the first time I'd ever heard of them. And I never had seen any label that said Beatrice on it. But just doing a little bit of research today, Beatrice at one time, they acquired Tropicana, Krispy Kreme, Jolly Rancher, Orville Redenbacher's, Swiss Miss, Peter Pan, Milk Duds, La Choy, and Dannon, along with some other industries companies like Avis and Samsonite and Playtex. So they had their fingers in a lot of pots, but it says the company has been defunct since 1990. They sold off major parts of the company, and then what remained was acquired by ConAgra, and we all have probably heard of ConAgra in recent decades. This ad right here, though, sold for $14.77, and it's on its way to Arizona. Here's one that's a little bit different. This ran in Fortune magazine 1936. This is not an advertisement. The magazine did a feature article on Weird and Still, and the company based in Weirton, West Virginia, this artist drew or painted, looks like pastels, this image of the blast furnace at that steel mill. And in the text at the bottom, it says 4 times a day, this Weirton blast furnace lets go with a 250-ton cast of pig iron. And so that's a huge chunk of metal right there, and pretty impressive for any mill of its day to be able to cast something like that. So, kind of an interesting thing. This sold for $23.77. It's on its way to Ohio. Now, I just wanted to jump back and amend my comments on this advertisement here because I just now got in feedback from the buyer, and she said that this ad brings back memories for her because her father worked in this blast furnace for many years. And in the picture here, in the illustration, you can see a fellow on the stairs there, and you can also see another one who is backlit by the glowing steel. And so I can just see her looking at this ad and imagining that one of those workers might be her dad. So I always love hearing those feedback stories and people's connections to the ads. I wanted to share that one with you. Here's an ad from 1943. It ran in Look magazine, and it says, "Keep it under your Stetson. Idle words make busy subs." And in the picture here, you can tell that somebody's idle words got into the hands of German intelligence, because their sub was waiting for an American cargo ship that was leaving port. And in the icy waters of the North Atlantic here, you can see that the cargo ship is sinking, and these sailors are abandoning ship, and there's a lifeboat out trying to save some of them. This fella here's hanging on for dear life, and there's a U-boat in the background. Now, this is one of those ads that I highlighted in a video about 2 months ago, that I, in the bonus topic, I called it Boost Your Income. And I talked about the qualities of an advertisement that might warrant you applying a premium on top of whatever base price that you've considered appropriate for an ad of a certain size or a certain era or a certain look. I mean, however you determine your base ad prices. But this one I normally would have priced around $16 or $18. I put this at $21.77, and it sold to a buyer in Europe. To It's going to an APO address. Here's an ad from 1962 that ran in True magazine, and here it shows Ted Williams. He was the athlete and outdoorsman. He was considered a consummate outdoorsman. So Sears hired him to consult on their outdoor products, their hunting gear and their camping gear and their fishing gear and all of that. So here he is endorsing the sleeping bag that he helped Sears create. And down here in the picture, it gives you the detailed specifications of the sleeping bag there. But here he is out on a lake shore somewhere, and he's in front of this big Sears tent. And this cooler that's in the picture here, my family had that very same cooler. It's an aluminum cabinet cooler with a wood grained look plastic top that's hinged in the back. And my family, we had that when I was growing up. And I remember a lot of our camping equipment and other gear like that came from Sears, because in a small town, we didn't have department stores to go and shop. So we would order from the Sears catalog, and we would go to the Sears outlet center when they would give us a call that our order had come in, and we'd go out there, and some employee would run into the back and pick up our purchase. And so I remember that from my childhood. This ad right here sold for $16.77. It's on its way to Georgia. This nice ad ran in 1935 Fortune magazine. It's a full page black and white ad for the Jones and Laughlin Iron and Steel Company, based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And in this image, you can see the crucible of molten steel, and it's superimposed over a backdrop of different plants and factories. And it says 100 industries look to J&L for steel. $23.77 sent this to California. Here's an interesting ad that we might learn something from. This is a half page from Life magazine 1965, and the product is Ronson household lubricant oil, and they called the product Oily Bird household lubricant. And in this ad, I'm going to show you here that they've taken the design of the can and they've turned it into what you'd call zoomorphic. And that's a word that I didn't know. I knew there was a word for it, but I looked it up and just forced myself to learn it. so I could share it with you. It might be an excellent word to include in keywords in your listings, because we talked a little while back about anthropomorphic ads, and those are things that are non human that are given human qualities or characteristics. Well, this is inanimate things that are given um, the attributes of animals. And in this case, you see that the yellow spout here is the beak of the bird, and then the spout pivot point is that yellow eye. And then they've painted the can to kind of accentuate that, to call it oily bird. So they've got the bird painted on the can. And in this ad, they've placed that bird in a nest. And it says, look what Ronson hatched. So in the details of the ad here down at the bottom, it just tells you more about the product and what you can do with it and where to find it. It's a nice ad for just a household lubricant 20 weight oil. And I sold this for $12.77. It's on its way to Utah. If you watched last week's video, you might recall about halfway through, I had one of those moments that us eBay sellers love, and that's hearing that cha-ching sound. And so I remember saying, as I was recording that video, I wonder what sold. And this is it. It was a good sell. Actually, the highest priced ad of the week at $34.77. This is a two-page ad from Fortune Magazine, 1937, and it's National City Bank of New York. They're celebrating 125 years in the loan business, and in the details here, these little boxes just tell several examples of the kinds of loans that they've made to help people over the years. It says, don't borrow unless you must, but if you must, come see us at National City Bank. So again, 3477 sent this ad to Missouri. Here's a nice ad from 1945. It's a very small ad, just a partial page. And right here are the dimensions. It's roughly 3 inches by about 4.5. And it says, The Babe Knew the Answers. This ran in The Open Road for Boys, 1945. Louisville Slugger is the advertiser. And right here, it gives you instructions about how you can write and get a copy of that little booklet, 1945 Famous Slugger Yearbook. So that sold for $6.77. It went to Indiana. This full page black and white ad also ran in Fortune magazine, this one from 1941, and they're talking about Shell oil industrial lubricants and also chemical products like fertilizers. When you read down into the details of the ad there, it's talking about how they have 821 scientists and assistants who solely work to create something new and better, including things like ammonium sulfate, which combines with the soil to grow sweeter, juicier fruit and more luxuriant flowers. All about research and development, basically, in this nice ad. $21.77, sent it to Illinois. This full page black and white ad, this is the last one of the week. This ran in Look Magazine 1943, and it's an advertisement for General Motors Pontiac division. Pontiac got the contract from the Department of the Navy for anti-aircraft 20 millimeter guns, or cannons, they're calling them. But it goes from the contract award date of April the 3rd of 1941 here through the development process and manufacture, and talks about how they save materials in their process so they can build more guns more cheaply. And down at the bottom, it shows this couple with their savings bonds that they've used to help pay for war materials to win the war. This sold, well, I had $16.77 on it. It did have some condition issues for moisture exposure, and I disclosed that in the listing. Somebody pitched me an offer for basically half price, $8. I took it. It's on its way to Tennessee. On the weekly recap screen, you can see here that in week 37 of 2024, I've sold 16 advertisements from 9 different magazine titles, and the total of sales $271.55. Now, let's move on and talk about the weekly bonus topic. This week it's called Christmas Came Early. All right, friends, our bonus topic this week is Christmas Came Early. And what I mean by that, Christmas came early to the Blue Feather Ephemera store. And it happened in a few different ways that I want to show you. But first, let me mention why. Uh, in addition to selling things on eBay, I told you I got started with other products besides vintage print ads about 5 or 6 years ago. And I've also been selling in a physical space. I've got a vintage booth in a vendor's mall. It's not a true antique mall, but I do sell vintage items in a brick and mortar. And so I noticed I've never been one to get excited about Christmas in September or October, and especially since so many sellers now are giving you a dose of Christmas in July. I've never been excited about, seeing Christmas things before Halloween. But I noticed that um, in the physical space, in mid to late October, when I was ready to bring in Christmas stock, other sellers had had their Christmas stock out for a month or more and were starting to mark it down. And so I was trying to compete with new stock up for sale with markdown clearance stock by, you know, early November to mid November at the latest. They were marking down Christmas stuff. And so I was behind the eight ball. Now, so what I've done here, first of all, is I've put up a new banner in the store that you see. And with these subscription cards, most of them, pretty much all of them that you can make out well, have a Christmas theme. Here's a ornament for Woman's Home Companion, and here's one for Better Homes and Gardens. It's got Christmas candy. Life magazine has the Christmas package, and so on. So it looks a little bit Christmas. I've had it up for about a week. I'm not sure that I'm 100% satisfied with it, but that's what that looks like. Now, uh, down here in the sell tab, it references buy three and get one free with a code Blue Christmas. And I'm going to show you how that looks in my actual store because it's a little bit different. Let's go. I think it's under the shop tab here. Let's go there and we'll look at the products that are up for sale in my store. And when you get down here, I've got Colonel Harlan Sanders. I thought that was kind of appropriate for this Kentucky boy to put our uh, Colonel up there in his Christmas regalia with a bucket of chicken. And there's the offer buy three, get one free. Shop now, use code Blue Christmas. And so I'm trying to get people thinking about Christmas and giving more thoughtful gifts like vintage print ads because anybody can run out to the local department store and buy a thing. But vintage print ads are unique and they're a thoughtful gift, especially when they're well considered for a collector or somebody who likes to decorate uniquely and so on. So that's there. But I'm running a different offer that you need to get to a different way. So I'm going to go into the seller hub here and I'm going to show you marketing discounts and we'll look at the other ad or excuse me the other promotion for a limited time, free shipping on two or more ads. So I've got buy three, get one free, and I also have free shipping on two or more. I've used the same image here, the kernel with the bucket here, but where you can personalize this just a little bit more. Uh, the slogan here for the sale is save a bucket of money on your holiday shopping. And so I've done those things to help put people in the mindset to start buying for Christmas and to consider buying print ads when they do. The other thing that I'll be working on over the next month or two is all of the magazines that are likely to have better Christmas content in them. Around the ends of the year, magazines like House and Garden, Better Homes and Gardens, um, Woman's Day, Woman's Home Companion, all of those kind of homey type magazines are going to have great Christmas ads. And I'm going to be going through my stacks and getting a lot of that content up, especially during the next 6 weeks or so, to have it ready there for Christmas shoppers. So I just wanted to talk about those things because it's not too late. I mean, it's not too early. It sounds too early, but it's really not too early to be thinking about making your pitch to holiday shoppers. So I wanted to put that out there for the bonus topic this week. You know, give me some feedback. Tell me if you think it's too early. Tell me, if you do something different. The other thing, too, I'm going to do a store newsletter coming up. I almost forgot. I apologize. I'm going to do a store newsletter coming up in the next couple of weeks, too, to encourage people to consider vintage print ads for Christmas gifts. Um, but if you do something different, or if you think it's too early, or if you have suggestions or tips, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it that you can use. Most of all, I hope you come back and see me next week when we'll talk about something else. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content like it, there's several ways to support the channel. Hit the like button. Also, share this with friends and subscribe to the channel. That way you'll be notified when new videos drop. And then also, leave a comment if you have questions or suggestions or just want to send a friendly hello. I'd love to hear from you.